What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another video. So this is supposed to be show 133. However, right, the day before I was supposed to publish it, I got a message from our guest of the show, which we'll talk about in a second, saying that he just found out that his current company does not allow public speaking, I guess. So we put it on the shelf for a few weeks, and now he's moved on. He's gotten a job as a sales engineer, which is not mentioned on the show because it didn't happen at the time. Anyways, you're going to see references to show 133 throughout. This is show 141. So show notes will be at wetheSalesEngineers.com/show 141. I hope you enjoy the show. And whenever you hear 133, think of 141. Merry Christmas. And I will see you in the show. This is We the Sales Engineers podcast, show 133.
Welcome to We the SEs podcast, the show for sales engineers by sales engineers with your host, Ramsey Majaba.
What's up, SE Nation? Welcome back to another episode. This is your host, Ramsey Majaba, along with my co-host, Benny the Distraction Beard, Kinungo.
Yeah, hey there, Ramsey. How's it going today?
Good. Last week, were you the beard last week, and now it's the Distraction Beard?
I don't know. I think that's an upgrade. I think possibly, yeah.
Okay. No. How's it going, Benny?
Not too badly, thanks. How are you?
I'm good. It's early in the morning. The sun is not shining, but at least it's not gloomy. So
true. It's supposed to be a warm day actually today, which is something that's like 20-something degrees
Celsius. That's like 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah, especially how it has been lately.
Yeah, especially in Canada. It's like if it goes over, like, I don't know, what is it, 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it's like summer. So, all right. So today we have a different kind of guest. We got a customer on the show. We don't actually have a sales engineer. We work a lot with customers, and a lot of times especially for new SEs, they don't know exactly what customers think, and even as advanced SEs, sometimes we don't know what customers think. So I wanted to talk to a customer who works with SEs, and that's where Jeff Lewis comes in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. It's definitely one of those things. Oh, sorry, just cut you off. My mistake.
No, you didn't. Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's really cool just to be able to, just to get the other side. Jeff was really insightful with respect to like, what is it that he's looking for as a customer when getting presentations from SEs. So it was really cool because we talk so much about, like how to be valuable to customers, but to actually get it from a customer. Yeah, such a good show.
Yeah, like we always theorize about what we think is important. So it's good to talk to the actual customer. Kind of like in any other venue. If you're creating a product, you're creating it for a customer. So you better go be talking to a customer to understand what they want.
True.
So it's kind of the same thing. And, Jeff was a great sport. He's been listening to the show for a while. So I really enjoyed talking to him. He's been on a few of the coffee breaks, which I haven't done in a while. But yeah, so it was nice to talk to him, and he brought a lot of insight about. He's not the business decision maker, but he is the technical influencer. So that's where he comes in, and I hope you guys enjoy the show. But before we jump in, I do have a request. If this show is valuable to you, I would request that you share it with someone who would actually gain something from it. Don't share it with random people who will gain nothing. Actually, do share it with anybody. I don't care. Why not? So share it with whoever you think this will help, and I would truly appreciate it. So with that begging part out of the way, let's jump into the show. Good evening, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm good. So you are not an SE. What in the world are you? If you're not an SE, do you exist?
Yeah, no, I'm not an SE, so I don't exist. Apparently, I'm in that ether somewhere on the side working with SEs. I'm not an SE yet. We'll go there. I'm what would be considered kind of a solution architect. I work for Wells Fargo, and I've been there for 16 years. And my job kind of runs parallel along with the SEs internally to Wells Fargo. But I work with a lot of the solution engineers and account executives from my vendors. So I'm familiar with the role.
Yeah, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. We talked to a lot of sales engineers as part of VDSCs, but we haven't talked to any customers.
Yep.
you'd be our first customer, where we're just talking
Hey.
about it from a customer's perspective. So, honestly, what do you think of salespeople and sales engineers? You don't mince words.
All right, I have to be careful because HR might see them. No, I'm kidding. I love them. I've got a lot of my good friends through work are some of my vendors, whether they're the SEs, the AEs, professional services. I think they're great. They make my job easier. There's obviously contention there sometimes through the sales cycle, but I love them. They're great.
Do you hold the same view for both SEs and salespeople?
Yeah, I do. The SEs, because I'm a technical guy, the SEs tend to be more technical than the reps that I work with. They both have their own, their own place in the cycle.
Fair. And are you pre-sales as a solutions architect, or are you after the
All
fact?
post. Yep. With Wells Fargo, we don't have anything that would be considered a pre-sales like solution engineering or solution architect role. So, and we'll probably talk about this, as we get into the conversation, but I'm that guy that the sales engineers and the solution engineers talk to, and then I implement their products or services within our environment.
Okay, very cool.
So, would you consider yourself like the business decision maker or the technical decision maker?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I'm lower on the chain from a decision-making standpoint, but I do have input. But I need to be able to see, we have patterns in our enterprise architecture that we need to follow. So I need to see how is the solution, whether it be a cloud-based solution or an on-prem solution, how is it going to fit within our architectural patterns? But then I also need to see on the business side, how does it fit within our strategy that we're trying to fold into our business? So we have to have a good grasp of both of them.
So if you were to say like there's one thing you enjoy about like working with sales people and sales engineers, what would it be?
The training. And I mean, I'm honest about that. So I'll give you a little story. I work with one of my vendors, Teradata, for example, obviously huge vendor. We had these guys on-prem for 3 years. So I literally had 3 years of on-the-job training with Teradata customer service and professional services guys. You don't get that kind of training, unless you have this type of relationship with those vendors. So being able to get customized training on their software to that level is fantastic.
So are you working with sales engineers after the sale? Like you already bought and now they're giving you training.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So we'll interface with them. Like if a new product comes out, we'll do RFPs or we'll go through a sales process and do some evaluation. We try to do POCs just because we like to get greedy and see what we can get away with. So we work with them,
You're such a customer.
I mean, I'm not lying. It's no joke. But after the sale, I mean, we have some of these contracts are huge, right? I mean, there's several tens of millions of dollars for some of the software that we're buying. So we have very long yearly contracts. And so, I'll engage with either the rep or the SE or the professional services multiple times, pre-sale and post-sale.
Okay. So you are involved in both, like before buying, you are part of that process.
Yep.
So what does the sales cycle or the buying cycle look for you, I guess?
Like I said, I'm a little lower on the totem pole from when the conversation gets started. Usually it comes in like we're doing an RFP right now with another company for some marketing products. And a lot of it just comes down to I'm engaged at the point where they're doing the technical demo because I work on the technical side for the most part. So we need to make sure we see how it fits. Make sure that we are engaged on the requirements and the discovery process as well. Because when they talk to the business owners, they don't know all of our requirements, especially at a technical level.
Yeah.
They don't know all those details. So usually I get pulled in around the discovery requirements process, and it's just meeting after meeting after meeting for months on end to get through it.
Okay.
And so I guess while you're going through this process kind of as a buyer and you're meeting with all these different teams, this might seem like a silly question, but as a buyer, what are you looking for from them? Are there certain maybe things, or are there certain things that are going to resonate more strongly with you?
Yeah, the biggest thing is going to be the value. Like I said, we have contracts that in software that ranges from a couple $1,000 to millions of dollars. I mean, it runs the whole gamut of the buying process. And we really, as a buyer or as someone in the buying process, And I know you guys say this all the time as SEs, you have to establish that value. That's really what I'm looking for. Is it going to make my job easier? Is it easy to understand? And am I going to find value out of it, not just now, but in the future as well?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So, all right, Benny wrote an amazing question here that I'm going to ask because I want to take credit for it.
There you go.
So, has any sales teams ever done something to lose a deal from you, like from initial meetings? Thanks, Benny.
Not lose the sale. We've had some where we've backed out of because there was a better option.
Okay.
But we have had instances where what we thought we were getting was not what it was. So, we needed it to do A, B, and C, but it actually only needed A and C and not B. And that's kind of a contentious point. I know that happens. And that's kind of the problem with some of the sales cycles is things get situated how the customer wants them to be situated and not exactly how they are sometimes. So it's that over promise and under deliver, and that's kind of a pain point sometimes.
Yeah, a lot of people do that. A lot of people advocate against it, but doesn't really matter. So, but like you backed out of it, that means you got far into the process. How did you get so far into the process before you understood that they don't do everything that you want? And whose responsibility is that to figure it out actually?
Yeah, it should have been the responsibility when it first came out and they were doing discovery, and especially the requirements traceability matrix, when we have the requirements and we can trace the functionality back to that requirement. And whether whose fault it was, we don't know. It was just missed over. After the installation, we realized it doesn't do everything that we were told it does. So, I mean, there could be several people that were at fault, but it happens.
Yeah.
Just to quickly maybe jump in there, this is coming from a place of ignorance, but what is a requirement traceability matrix?
Yeah, so, you guys talk about your discovery process and, making sure that, I think Chris uses the example, guy wants to buy a shovel. Well, what's he really want? He wants a hole, etc.
Yeah.
So the requirements traceability, when we look at our internal architecture, we have requirements documents, we have technical system design, functional system design, and the requirements traceability matrix basically says when we have a requirement 1 through 100, when we fulfill that requirement, we need to fulfill or be able to match that requirement back to the requirement in the initial discovery process. So if I say I need this to do XYZ, when we have that functionality that it does XYZ, we can trace it back to that specific requirement.
Cool.
So it just helps us make sure that all the requirements are being met and we can trace it to the functional design.
And do you build that before the discovery meeting, that these are my requirements, and then you show up to the discovery meeting and match it and then follow up? How does it work?
Yes and no. So we have our initial set of requirements, but as we're talking with the vendors, they obviously are more knowledgeable about the software than we are. So a lot of times, and this is a great key to you guys uncover requirements that we didn't know we had. So it is an ongoing process.
So you have what you think are the important stuff, and then they may come and add or even change some stuff for you potentially.
Absolutely. Yep. Or uncover more requirements than what we originally had.
Fair. And do you find that, and maybe this is going to vary from industry to industry, but do you find that maybe the requirements that you have for any sort of vendor that you're looking for, whatever the solution may be, do they tend to be requirements that every company that you're reaching out to already kind of has an expectation to be able to solve? And so I guess where I'm going with this, that SE teams, is it valuable for them to already kind of have a sense of these pain points and requirements beforehand and have almost canned solutions for them? Is that what's happening?
It is. To some extent, like you said, it's very situational. Everybody's technology stack is different. A requirement we may have would be we need to be able to integrate, with Teradata, but another, requirement someone else may be using Hadoop or some other big data or Snowflake, for example. You can look at kind of growth solutions that way. There's another company I was working with, and it's almost finding a solution for a problem that doesn't really exist yet. So they're developing solutions and then seeing how they interact with the enterprise. But really, there are some canned solutions, but it's just so different per vendor and per environment we're installing, so it's hard to answer that one.
I think you'd have like a familiar base, between a lot of customers, and then like the customization on top might be a little bit different. But to Benny's point, the more understandings of other customers' problems that you might have, like if I understood what like some other customer, some like a competitor of yours, their problems, I can come and talk to you and we can discuss like, hey, we've seen these problems in other places, like from an SE perspective. What do you guys see? So,
and you see that a lot, working in financial services, we're highly regulated environments. So we do, all the banks are going to have essentially the same regulations. So you kind of have that baseline. So you're right, you'll have that baseline of hurdles you need to get over with, or requirements that you need, and then everything else can be customized after the fact.
Fair. That makes sense. Kind of maybe a question, maybe to go back to some of what you were talking about a little bit earlier, maybe around just teams delivering value, and then also maybe teams under delivering on the value that they promised. Over time, have you kind of identified certain red flags that kind of come up when maybe a sales team is doing something that I don't know, that might dissuade you from buying?
Nah, not for me. Now, that's not to say it doesn't happen, higher up on the food chain. But for me, I haven't really seen any red flags that I could use to identify ahead of time that something may not go well.
Fair.
We always say like people buy from people they like.
Yep.
Do you find that like from a vendor perspective, we can always say that and assume it's true, but as a customer, is it true? Like, would you buy from someone you don't like?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we have a problem that needs solved, right? So maybe the guy comes off brash, or we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. They're still going to solve a problem, so they're going to buy it. It makes it so much easier when you have a really good relationship with that vendor. So if I have a really good face-to-face talk with the consultant or the AE or the rep, it makes it a lot easier when you enjoy each other's company.
So how did those AEs and SEs actually build those relationships with you?
Just spending time with us. I mean, you just said it, people buy from people, right?
Yeah.
Not treating us like we're a number. If they see Wells Fargo, like, oh my gosh, big dollar sign. So lots of money, they can get a big account, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't operate like that. You got to get to know us. The guys that I work with, they know my phone number, my home phone number. We talk all the time. Just being a person, and enjoying that relationship with somebody is the key to it.
So being a human.
Yep. I mean, it's just common sense, right?
Wait, is that a secret? Wait, hold on. Did we just uncover a secret?
You need to patent that.
Yeah, be human. I think it's been out for a while, but I'll take credit. I've taken credit for Benny's questions before, so why not?
There you go.
No,
you started the channel. I mean,
yeah, there you go. I have the right to do whatever I want. It's a dictatorship here.
I signed the contract. It's all gone. Yeah.
Wait, we have a contract.
I don't know.
Oh.
It's all. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. But to that point, yeah, like it's so true. I mean, in my, I guess just in a little time, I did a lot of win-loss calls for a company, and it just one of the things that were so common across the wins was even in the losses, really. We would even ask, like, despite the fact that you didn't go with us, what were some things that were still really strong about our showing, about our product, whatever it may be. And consistently, the relationship with the salesperson was always so key. Even in wins, certainly, but even in the losses, to be considered for future wins, just having the relationship is important. So it's cool to hear from you as well.
It's different now. I mean, obviously, the environment we're in with COVID and everything, it makes things more difficult. It's hard to have that personal interaction, like what we're having over the computer screen. We got to know each other, like the vendors that I work with, we all got to know each other over dinners and drinks, during planning meetings. And that's really it. I miss those. I miss being able to travel out to San Francisco and get with our vendors, or North Carolina and meet with some of our vendors out there. It makes a big difference, that human-to-human interaction.
So true. Yeah, I can't wait for that to happen again. Just like jumping on planes, and I don't know, my maybe shout out. We don't have a sponsorship by Marriott, but my Bonvoy points account is since
it's dwindling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had to resort to the credit card miles. To start racking everything on credit card.
Yeah.
So what would be the quality you're looking for in a partnership with an SE, other than they provide value? If they have a solution for you, let's say two different vendors have a solution for you, what are you looking for from the AESE team to help you make a decision?
If we had two vendors, well, first off, it's probably out of my hands because we have preferred vendors and the non-preferred vendors. vendors. But if we had
Okay.
two, we'll say they're preferred vendors.
Yeah.
Two preferred vendors, same price, essentially the same product, both did the same thing and met the functionality that we needed. So in all, for all intents and purposes, they were the same thing. It'd be the relationship we had with the AE and the SEs that won the deal.
And how often does it happen at all?
It might. I mean, I usually get it to after the point where either we're in that evaluation stage and either we know we're going to get it or we're not going to get it. I haven't come up against a situation where we've had two head-to-head and they were so similar that it was really hard to make that decision. Most of ours have been a very clear winner versus loser
Okay.
when we're making evaluations.
And I guess when evaluations are being made, are there situations where on the buyer side, you're actually in disagreement with your colleagues around maybe which one you should go with? And how do you guys handle that?
Yeah, kind of. Sometimes we have, like, everybody's got their fanboys. You know, I'm a Salesforce fanboy. What can I say? I think they have great products, and especially around the Marketing Cloud, products. We have other vendors that are more niche products that some of the other guys, would gravitate towards. Really, it comes to just the executive decision. We may have our pros and cons about each one, but we're not high enough to say that this one gets it and this one doesn't. So it really comes down to what's going to make our jobs easier.
Fair. Wait, sorry. Maybe I missed it, but oh yeah, okay, never mind. I think you just did answer it. So like, even if there's if there's a disagreement between like you and another colleague around which one's going to, maybe which one do you like more? I guess it just comes down to the brass tacks around.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, we'll put in our input and why, but it's not at my level. It's not up to saying yes, we get it or no, we don't.
Cool. No, that's fair.
I want to change gears a little bit. You mentioned RFPs earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a very serious. I couldn't even say it with a straight face. Damn it! All right. SEs hate RFPs.
Dude, I'm with you. I'm right there with you.
Okay, you answered the question. So you hate them too. All right.
Oh, what's the statistic about it? It's some tens of thousands of words in these documents. They are the worst things ever. I don't like them. They take too long. I know they have their place. They have their reasons. I'm just not a fan of them. I really am not. But
yeah. Like I know from an SE side, there are companies right now that are like trying to automate RFPs and like responses, make it faster. So I don't know, maybe there will be something for you guys soon enough to.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I don't envy you guys for having to do the RFPs. I mean, it's easier on my side. We basically tell you exactly what we want, what we need, and this is what we're looking for. But the evaluation process and going through the whole thing, if someone does come down to streamlining it, they're gonna make a lot of money.
And this is another random question. I see a lot of SEs sometimes do a presentation in not in presentation mode, like in edit mode. Does it bug you as much as it bugs me, or?
Yeah. Did you make a post about that the other day?
Yeah.
I think, yeah. We had one. It actually wasn't too long ago. They were going through PowerPoint not in presentation mode. And so I'm sitting here looking over at the screen, reading 3 slides ahead to see what's coming. And, they're just not, it does bug me.
Okay.
I mean, the demo, it's an art. And those little things that like the Demo to Win guys and John Kerr and all those guys that they talk about, those little differences, they do make a big difference during the demo.
So have you witnessed what you would consider a perfect demo? Or as close to perfect as possible?
Yeah, we've had several that are really good from other companies. And the biggest ones were the very story-driven. When I do demos at work, they're more technical. I create a solution that's coming from one of our internal customers, and we basically create a solution, show it to them, show them how to use it, and we're good. So it's a little bit different than how the SEs demo, during the sales cycle. We've had a few. The Marketing Cloud demo we saw a couple months ago, it was on point. I mean, the story was great.
Who was the SE? I want to reach out to him. Maybe he'll do a demo.
Jordan Seaton from Salesforce.
Okay, I'll reach out to you after, and I'll get some contact information.
Yeah, Seaton. He did a really good job on those guys did he was polished.
Okay, nice. Yeah, Salesforce are like, I think they invest in their SEs, so
yeah,
that's good. So what, like, is it just because it was story driven? Like, did he speak well, or did he
Yeah.
stutter? Like, okay.
No, cadence was great, story driven, really hit on the stuff. This was part of the process. So, really showing us what we needed to see, that minimal viable demo. They did a great job. And I know Salesforce does, they hammer into their SEs on how to demo and creating those stories. And so it's paying off well.
Okay. Did anyone ever put you to sleep?
I've had some that I've completely tuned out, but not put to sleep.
Well, funny story. One guy actually put my sales guy to sleep while he's trying to sell. So
Oh, no.
that's a different story. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say you have a few questions you're writing down, Benny. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, one of them was already answered, which is really cool, actually. The idea that, so the question was this idea of kind of what is your ideal demo flow? And like, is it more story driven versus just a more, back and forth kind of answering questions? But I guess, but I think you also maybe said that in the pre-sales cycle, it might be better for it to be a story. And then maybe after something gets sold, just go straight to the functionality, or would you say otherwise?
Yeah, and that's where my world is. So yeah, in that pre-sale side, story driven, 100%. Post-sales, we're trying to get that technical functionality. We're either working with customer success or working with the professional services team. That's the time to get technical. I've had some really great professional services guys from Teradata that have spent hours with me just going into the deep details. But for that pre-sale side, you've got to stick with the story.
Well, you just described the difference between a demo and training.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think Brian Jury would love you right now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in demos where they're literally clicking on every little thing, and it's okay. We have that 30-minute or an hour-long meeting. You can't do that, and you just lose people. You've got to keep it engaging. And coming from the customer, everything they're saying in like 2 in and everything that Chris is saying, Chris White, that stuff is what you need to be doing when you're demoing to customers.
Yeah, there aren't any more secrets. It's out there. Everybody's saying it. Like Chris, John, Peter, everybody, basically.
I know it's making my job harder to get a job in solution engineering because now everybody's looking for it.
No, I'm sure you have some competitive advantages over that.
Yeah, we'll see.
But hey, if anyone's looking for a pre-sales engineer, Jeff is waving his hand right now because he knows this. He knows the customers.
Right? Yes, I do. I am.
Which you're supposed to have a PhD in customers, and you should know that your products. He has a PhD in customers, and he knows a lot of products.
Can't be any more customer-centric than the customer. So
yeah, there you go. I just did a pitch. Hopefully it'll work.
Thanks.
It wasn't story-driven or anything, but
that's all right.
If you want to sell millions of dollars in a world, call Jeff. Yeah, we'll leave your number afterwards.
It is really true though, right? Like I think having that perspective as a buyer, it really can't be overstated. Like it's just something that not every, like I know that I as an SC didn't have that experience beforehand, and having my eyes open to what buyers are actually thinking and what they're going through. And we've definitely had a few guests before that talk kind of about buyer enablement a little bit and kind of prepping, or rather just presenting value to the buyer, not just from a solution perspective, but just from an overall perspective. And so you have that perspective, which is so unique.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly right. That's exactly right. I mean, and I'm not going to float my boat, on this because it's not the focus of the discussion, but when you have that customer side, that customer experience, you get to go into it more with your eyes wide open, because I know if I'm sitting doing a demo, say I'm a solution engineer and I'm demoing to something, I know what that guy sitting across from me is thinking and feeling because I've been there hundreds of times.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that was my situation as well. I moved from like a customer to a vendor, and then I know exactly what they want to see and all that, which is very helpful. And like, sometimes people want to get out of university and go straight into sales engineering. It's great if you can do it, but
yeah,
I know it's harder later on, but the experience you get as a customer will really be helpful as a sales engineer.
Absolutely.
If there's one quality that you would attribute, like say this is a good sales engineer or this is a good salesperson, what would it be?
Curiosity.
Okay.
Seriously. I mean, those guys that I work the best with, the guys that I, have the best relationship with, and I say guys, sorry if that's, sexist, men, women, we work with them all. Those sales engineers that really take the time to dig into what it is that I need, they're curious about how I work and how many hours I put in, how my workflow is. Those are the guys that I always have the best results with, because they have that natural curiosity to learn my business.
Is there such a thing? Is there such a thing as too much curiosity? Is there a point where you're gonna tell them to like F off?
I mean, if they're calling me at 1 o'clock in the morning, hey, I had a thought. I mean, then that's a little bit too much. But no, I mean, it's a game of information. You really can't have enough on it. And so those guys that really take the time to understand what it is I'm doing, those are the ones that work out the best.
And this could be for both SEs and like sales engineers and account managers. You're not differentiating one.
No.
Is there a quality that you hated about sales engineers?
Lack of follow-up.
Lack of follow-up.
So if I have a question and I email you, obviously it's a pressing concern for me at this moment because I have that question. If I have to wait 2 or 3 or 4 days to get an answer, that frustrates the heck. Sorry about dropped the out of me.
That's interesting.
Yes.
Because okay, from a SE perspective, sometimes I don't know the answer.
Yeah, I get that, but I'm just saying from the customer's perspective,
I get it.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, and I'm trying to figure out like how would we do that? Like sometimes I don't know the answer and I have to email PM.
Yep.
Right. And then sometimes I have to email PM again because they're getting a lot of emails from a lot of different people. Would an email to you saying like, hey man, I know this is urgent, I'm looking into it, it's just taking me a little bit longer than I expected, would that help you in any way, or would that just piss you off more because for some reasons?
No, I mean, it could be as simple as you emailing the PM, carbon copying me saying, hey, Mr. PM, Jeff has this question. I've included him on this email chain. That's great. But it's when it's radio silence, for a length of time where I don't know that you've emailed your PM or emailed a second PM again.
Or even saw the email.
Exactly.
So you're just looking for an acknowledgement that you saw the email and you're working on it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we have to respond within a certain amount of time. We can't tell you for like 3 weeks in a row we're looking into it.
Yeah.
So you're a reasonable customer.
Yeah, I mean, from the customer perspective, I don't care about your other customers. My problem is the biggest problem. So, I mean, to me, I take precedence over all of it. So you need to pay me attention. And that's the greediness of being a customer.
Well, you have the right. Our job is to support you so you can, our job is to solve your problem. If we can't do it in a timely fashion, what's the point? We get to talk about you behind your back after you're gone. That's never happened. If any of my customers are listening.
Hey, I've talked, I'm sorry for anybody at my work that sees this, but I've talked with my SEs and my AEs about some people on my team behind their back, so it's okay.
Well, if you build a good relationship, people give you information about other people on the team.
Absolutely.
Like, this guy is pissing me off. I'm like, all right, let me see how I can help him better. It's helpful.
Relationships open doors, they open windows. I mean, their relationship is the biggest thing you can have.
Sometimes it puts
a customer vendor.
Sometimes when a customer talks about like somebody else within their team, to me, I'm in an awkward position because I want to agree, but they're my customer. I cannot agree, but I agree.
It does put you in a hot spot.
So that's interesting. But yeah, like you get to build those relationships, and that shows trust, right? That shows that you trust that person, which is great. So all right, curiosity is the most important thing.
Yeah, to me it is. Yeah.
And lack of follow-up is the worst thing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because it just goes back to I'm trying to do my job. You're helping me to try to do my job. If I need an answer, I'm asking for a reason. So, yeah, that lack of follow-up, it really burns it a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I have a quick question maybe about the curiosity piece in particular. So this is, and maybe to give you some context, this is coming from somebody like myself who's in a relatively new SE role in an entirely new industry from what I've ever been in before. And so when I'm kind of out there and I'm kind of faced with a situation where I'm dealing with a prospect, I always have this fear, well, it's getting better now, but I'm a few months in now, but I have this fear of asking a question that could come out so stupid that it kind of takes away from the credibility of our company, right? And that why, like, somebody like you is talking to me and asking a question like this, which is like grade school information within, or like a grade school question within the context of the industry. Is that a realistic fear that I should have, or would you say that that's trumped by the appreciation you have for curiosity?
I don't think it's a realistic fear you should have. With that said, you're going to get a lot of personalities in every meeting. That you're going to have that tech ETL guy that's been heads down coding for 50 years is like, did Benny really just ask that question? But I don't think it's a realistic fear you should have. Everybody understands that you're there. There's no such thing as a stupid question. You know, the fact that you're asking questions shows us that you're listening and trying to understand us.
Right.
I disagree with there are no stupid questions, but
Ooh, man, don't tell my daddy. He told me there's no such thing as a stupid question.
okay, well, I'll have to talk to your dad and we'll hash it out. But what is the feeling like? Benny is new. If he walks in and says, "Hey man, I'm new to this company. I am doing my best to help you, so I might ask you a few stupid questions." Are you okay with that? Would that bother you, or would you take him under your wing and work with him?
No, that wouldn't bother me at all. I mean, we're here. We go back to the relationship. We're here to establish a relationship, to establish a working civil relationship. If Benny came in and said, "Hey, I'm new. I'm trying to learn the process," we're going to understand that. I mean, we know that everybody's been in that position before. You know, 16 years ago, I had no idea what to do with, SAS or SQL or any of that. I had no idea what any of that stuff was. Right. So I agree with you on that. I'll give that one to you.
About stupid questions, or?
Yeah, there can be some stupid questions, but if you propose it that way, that like you said with Benny's example, then I think that's okay.
That's really encouraging to hear. That's definitely maybe a real anxiety I have, in that the last thing I want to do is come into a place and yeah, potentially have us lose credibility, whether it be from the initial situation that was brought up, or if kind of you say that you're new, maybe even potentially insulting the buyer to be like, oh, like they're putting the new guy on my account. Like, do I not really matter that much to them? But no, I really like your perspective on that. I really hope nobody I give a demo to ends up thinking that. But
to that point, we had, I'm not going to name the company because I don't want to give out too much information, but we had a professional consultant assigned to us literally 2 weeks out of college. And we were all just like, really? This is a huge deal. It's a giant project. How in the world are we getting away with, having this junior person? He was the best dang consultant we had ever had.
Wow.
And we had him assigned to us for 3 years, and he was fantastic. Yeah. So I learned I can't take any of that. The whole judging a book by its cover, it's out the window. Cool. People will surprise you.
Yeah. I've been in situations where people take advantage of someone who says, "Hey, I'm new, take it easy on me." Like, I went to a company where I did a consultation. That was before I was in sales. I was a post-sales engineer doing network design, and I wasn't new. And I'm a fairly big guy. People tend to give me respect whether I earned it or not, just because of my size. I was a little bit skinnier then.
The big baritone voice.
Yeah, the baritone SE, as Joshua would call me.
Yep.
So yeah, I showed up. They tried to take advantage of me. I dealt with it, and then I walked away. Then the next year, some new guy went in instead of me because I had a wedding, and I had to choose between my wedding or going to consult. My wife made me choose the wedding.
Oh,
so yeah, he went down there and they butchered him.
Really?
They just enjoyed messing with people. So you're always gonna find those people that are some customers are great. Like, you sound like a great customer, good one to work with. You're tough. You want what you want, but you give back. It's not like it's a one-way street. It's a partnership more than anything else. Some customers don't want a partnership. They just want to take.
Yeah.
Right. So it depends on the customer, Benny. And you can either go in vulnerable and say, "Hey, I'm new, I'm trying to learn, but I'm gonna do whatever I can to help you guys," or build trust like that. Or you can go like, "Hey, I know everything," and then they ask you a question within the first 2 seconds and you lose credibility. It's up to you which way you want to go.
You just need to go in with your beard as a source of power, Benny.
Exactly. Yeah. That's just.
Well, I called him Samson the other day just because it's so.
Hey.
Yep. No, I think it's actually a really good point that I could come in here with my wisdom beard, and anything I say
right.
law now.
Just stroking it as you go through the discovery process.
Good question.
That sounds smart. Yeah. Hey, Jeff, why do you want to go into sales engineering? What enticed you into doing that?
So I've worked with customers and vendors for so many years now. I honestly had no idea that solution engineering or sales engineering was a thing. I'd work with the AEs, and I'd work with, these guys that are doing the demos. And I always thought they were just either part of the sales team, well, they are part of the sales team, but like another, a technical consultant or professional services. And it wasn't until a friend of mine told me about this solution engineering position that he was interviewing for, and he wasn't technical, so he's asking me all these questions. That's when I learned about what SEs are. And I'm like, oh my God, that's wonderful. All these guys that I've been talking to for so many years were SEs. This is crazy. The one reason I want to go to it is because I implement all these different solutions from all these different vendors for my customers. And I see the impact that it has on their jobs and their customers that they deal with. And I do that in the confines of this one little box of Wells Fargo. And I want to branch out and do that elsewhere. I want to be able to impact customers across the board instead of just the people that I work with every day. So that's kind of what's been driving me towards it.
Okay. So with that, I think it's time to move on to the not so fire round.
Let's do it.
You've heard the show before. You're one of my.
I've listened to every one of your episodes, actually.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I found you when I found your podcast was like the only thing at the time that popped up about solution engineering, sales engineering. Every time I go to the grocery store, it was in my ear. And that was probably, I don't remember what episode you were on, but it was way before your 100th episode.
Oh, nice. Thanks for being a loyal listener.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about this, the not so fire round.
All right.
What do you love? You're not an SE yet, so we're gonna twist it around. But what do you love? Is this your question, Benny? I'm gonna take it.
No,
what do you love about working with SEs?
The companionship on it. They're the guys I said earlier about the training. If I have issues or I need a question answered, I'm literally getting corporate training by the guys that know that product, and I'm getting it for, I want to say free because I'm not paying for it. It's getting paid for in the deal. But just that companionship, having somebody that I can go to that knows what I'm going through, that knows how my business works, and being able to bounce ideas off of them. That's what I really love about working with the SEs.
Okay, Benny, you want to take the next one, or?
Yeah, absolutely, I guess. So I think you've already talked a little bit about some of the things that you've seen maybe that rubs you the wrong way in the sales process as a buyer. But you could say that again, or maybe something else. What are some things that you wish SEs could do better when they're selling to you?
This is not necessarily going to be, and this may be a cop-out, it's not necessarily going to be directed to the SEs because it's more of the whole process. I wish things could move a little bit faster sometimes, and that's at no fault of your own, no fault of my own. It's just politics and corporate governance. But sometimes some of these deals just take so long to go through, and that is, you get your hopes up. I'm going to be able to play with this new toy, and I'm going to be able to do this and this, and then you realize, oh, it's 12 months until we actually have everything put together. That's kind of the biggest thing that affects me.
I agree, and I commit to you 100% that all SEs would love for the sales process to go faster.
I mean, we had, and oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Well, we had this requirement for, and again, I can't go into too many details, but we have a requirement for an encryption project, for security. We're like, okay, we're going to onboard with this new utility, and we have a requirement to get it done by, I think it was like September 15th. And we're talking with the vendor and said, oh yeah, we'll start getting onboarded. And it was like the middle of 2021. I'm like, oh, we have this requirement now, and we can't do it until the middle of next year. So now what do? We've got 9 months, to figure an interim process out.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
I'd imagine that's particularly rough in the financial industry as well.
Yeah.
That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, you've got all the regulations, and then on the marketing side, you've got all the regulations about marketing, opt-in, opt-out, all that stuff. It gets hairy.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know some about them. I know some things. Okay, my Arabic is coming out right now, so never mind. Is there a book or resource other than We the SEs? Thank you for being a listener. That you would recommend?
2 books, and they've been set on this. And this is for me because not only does it help me with my foray into this career, but it helps me as a customer as well. Technical Sales, and then Chris White's 6 Habits books. Those 2 really got me to get an idea of what you guys are going through, so I can see more through your eyes as I'm sitting across the table, in these meetings or demos.
So it's Mastering Technical Sales and the 6 Habits.
Sales and 6 Habits. Yep.
And is it Is it so you understand what we go through, or is it so you can abuse us and take advantage of us and get what you want out of us?
50-50.
There you go. It's fair enough.
Yeah.
Good answer.
I mean, knowledge is power, right? So the more I know about what you guys have to go through in your process, it puts in perspective on, you guys are going through a lot of the same things I am sitting on the other side of the table.
Yeah, like it's so interesting because we think the same way. The more we know about you, the more we can help you, which gives us power. Right?
Yeah,
In
right.
the end, if we can help you, we can charge you for it. So
Perfect.
yeah, it works out. Benny, you take the last one, Benny.
Yep, that sounds good. So I think you alluded a lot to some things that teams could do to just to be better, I suppose, and to resonate more strongly with you as a buyer. So what are the things that separate the great SE or the great sales teams from the rest?
One thing that Ramsey said earlier was just be humans. I mean, I understand you've got quotas to meet, you've got, your quarterly, it's the last week of the quarter, we got to push through that, those numbers. Just treat us like humans, common sense, decency, all that stuff. Those are the biggest things for me. And that's just should go across the board to anybody.
Yeah. It's funny because if you build those relationships and treat people like humans, if I message you on the last week of the quarter, like, hey man, I need a deal right now because I need
I'm
it.
gonna help you out.
You will do whatever you can to help me out. Yeah, like it's
100%.
I always thought
right,
like no one would do that, but no.
No.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, if you've got that relationship and you've got that partnership there, I'm going to do what I can to help you out.
All right. So last question of the day. If someone wants to reach out to you and give you an offer for an SE role, where can he link up with you?
LinkedIn would be the best. So it's LinkedIn, Jeff D. Lewis on there. So that would be the best place to get to me. I've got open to work on there. I'm constantly networking. Over the last 8 months or so, I've been purposely trying to build my network of SEs and SE leaders. So yeah, send me an invite. Love to talk.
Awesome, man. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for being the first customer on the show. Not our customer, the first customer in general, SE customer. Thanks for the insight, man. We appreciate it.
You bet. This is fun. Seriously a pleasure being on this and looking forward to it. This is great.
Awesome. We'll see you soon. All right. And that's it. Thanks, Jeff, for coming on. That was fun. I hope you are okay listening to your own voice. I know you're listening to this, so I hope you're okay listening to your own voice. It took me a while to get used to it, and I'm still not used to it. So, what do you think, Benny?
Yeah, goodness, I think that was really good. Actually, it was so cool to be able to, like put ourselves in the shoes, or actually just get the perspective of somebody that that takes in these presentations and to kind of talk about, what is it that makes us better at it versus not. From a customer's perspective was super handy. This was definitely a great show for kind of changing how we do things.
Yeah, the interesting part is like we demo to someone from the customer side, and then the customer takes that and he demos to his customers what they're going to need to do. So, like every customer has their own set of customers. So I felt that was interesting. And, Jeff is looking for an SE role. So if you're interested, his information will be in the show notes for you to actually reach out. And please do that because I really want to get him as a SE on the show. So help me out by helping Jeff out.
I think any company would be so lucky to have him. Like just the ability now, like to be a customer and then to speak to a team of SEs with respect to what is it that customers resonate most strongly with, or what rather resonates more strongly with customers. I think is such a great recipe. And then we talk about it in the show, right? It's a great recipe to be an SE as well, because now since he's been a customer as an SE, he's going to know what he'd be looking for on that customer side. So any company that gets that gets Jeff on as an SE, they're already going to have that advantage of knowing that he knows how to talk to customers because he was one.
Yeah, and this show is not sponsored by Jeff in any way. We just really like Jeff. So yeah, all right. So I really enjoyed talking to Jeff. I really don't want to say this again because I really enjoyed talking to Jeff. Leave a rating and review. If you're watching this on YouTube, hey, give us a thumbs up, and we will see you next time. For Benny the Distraction Beard, this is Ramsey the Shaved Beard signing off.